Go live in a countdown. 1, 2, 3, go.
Going live in a minute. We are live now.
Okay. Good evening and welcome everybody to this session. The session is on cyber defense threats being faced in our country, and hope to take a deep dive into the joint realm of cyber security and the defense verticals as far as the IIT Kanpur is concerned. And I'll be moderating this session on behalf of SIC. And we have three startups who are going to be addressing your queries and giving you a brief. These three startups are eminently qualified in the sense that they have done their ideation, they're prototyping the POC, and they are on the marketing situation with a reasonably good traction in the market. And they have a wide exposure to the industry. So without much ado, I'll go in an alphabetical order. And first of all, we have Arishti Info Labs. And from there, we have Hardik. Hardik, raise your hand. And Hardik is one of our real high flyers, very active man in a startup and in IIT Kanpur. He's based in Gujarat, Gandhinagar, and a very well recognized person in cybersecurity focused on Industry 4.0. He is an alumni of the National Forensics University, am I right? Wherever his startup is. And he has done his MTech in cybersecurity and incident response. And currently, he's, apart from his startup, he's also doing a PhD in a continuing studies. And he has good traction in the market. And I don't know others, but I've been in a few occasions when Hardik has come out winner in so many competitions. Okay, so welcome, Hardik.
Thank you, sir.
And,
pleasure.
Then, alphabetically speaking, the next is SciTech, and we have Shiv Bihari Pandeji. Where are you? I don't see you on my screen. Please raise your hand.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Okay, hello. Yeah, Shiv. Okay. So, Shiv Bihari Pandeji is another of our very eminent startups. He is based in Kanpur, तो हमारे घर में ही है, and he is an MTech in computer cybersecurity from IIT Kanpur. He's got about 7+ years of experience in the cybersecurity industry, and he has worked with various organizations and government bodies and helping them. He goes into an organization, looks at the infrastructure and helps secure it, designing very customized frameworks and tools. Am I right? And he is fairly active in training government and law enforcement officers. And not that I've heard you, Shiv Bihari, but he has been a speaker at quite a few forums that I'm aware of. I keep getting the messages that Shiv Bihari is speaking at MDI, he's speaking at BITS or whatever, but he's given a fair amount of this thing. And a good amount of appreciation letters I've seen that he's got from MNCs for his work done. So, Shiv Bihari, welcome to this discussion. Right?
Thank you. Thank you.
And then, last but not the least, Sudeep ji, only because alphabetically, E-Gyanam comes after the ANC. इसलिए आपका नाम बाद में आया. My apologies. Sudeep Saxena is a senior thespian of this industry. Out of the startups, he's a senior thespian. He's Pune based, if I'm not mistaken, and in the industry for over a quarter of a century, right, Sudeep ji? And he has earlier been working with IBM, Wipro, Deloitte, and then he started his own startup, E-Gyanam, right? And he is basically got a vision that India has the talent. So his idea is कि मैंने कुछ करना है हिंदुस्तान में, आत्मनिर्भर भारत में, उसको ग्लोबल लेकर जाना है. So, with his global exposure, that is what he is doing. And he's been incubated with us for the last 2 years. And he is, like other two also, they are the technical heads. It's not that they are hired CEOs or something. All the three people here are brilliant in their knowledge of the technology, right? And Sudeepji's project is also, he'll tell you more about it, is currently running at IIT Kanpur, his solution, and also at BITS Mishra, plus a few other places that he will tell us, right? So welcome Sudeepji, and welcome to all the participants. And without much ado, let's go into the meat of the session. And what I want to do is we'll try to wrap it up ASAP so that there's time for question answer. I'm going to be posing a few questions, and the three panelists will give a quick, short 1.5 2 minute answer to these questions. We'll wrap up the basic questions, and the participants can put their questions while hearing the talk in the chat box, and we can all see them, and then we'll address them, right? So, okay, I'll start, and you can, if you raise your hand, you can answer first, or I'll go alphabetically, reverse alphabetically, and A to E or E to A, okay, fine. So that, okay, the first question is, let's understand the scenario, let's understand the subject that we're talking about, which means, at least for a novice like me, let us link up cybersecurity with the defense sector. What is the relevance of cyber threats, cybersecurity in the defense sector? And let's understand that. And then we will be, once we understand what are the risks, then we can talk, about, okay, tactics and whatever else. So I will now go reverse alphabetically, E Gyana. Sudeepji.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I think cybersecurity is one such thing which applies to everybody and every domain.
जी आपकी आवाज ब्रेक कर रही है. Is it break for me or for all of you? One second, the voice is breaking. Is it only for me, for others also?
Sir, are you able to?
Here also, sir.
एक मिनट सुदीप जी होल्ड करिए.
Is it breaking for everybody?
मेरे को तो बिल्कुल नहीं आ रही है.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now it's coming good, sir, I think.
Should we log off our videos? It might become better.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
बात करने से आवाज ठीक हो जाती है.
मैंने
Yes.
वीडियो ऑफ कर दिया है. मैंने वीडियो ऑफ कर दिया.
Okay,
If I am audible to everybody, then yes, then I'll continue.
Okay, now Sudeep ji, your voice is coming fine.
Very good, sir. So I was saying that traditionally we always talked about Air Force, ground forces, the Army, and the Navy as the three verticals which would fight wars for any country. But now that whole thing has changed, and there are two new dimensions. So one is the cyber warfare, and the fifth one which is coming up is a space war. So cyber war is something which is now on. You don't need to, start a war physically to actually be engaged in a cyber war. And we all say that it happens all the time. So for a defense, it impacts in many ways. And if we have just seen what has happened in Ukraine. So one of the first threats which has now come out is the threat of the national threat actors, which means nowadays there are no small hackers or teams which are enthusiasts or who learn hacking, and that is the reason they want to do these things. Nowadays, there are cyber armies. Countries are employing regiments or brigades of people who are PhDs and who are only doing research on how to, how to harm the adversary and how to protect also in the same way. So this has gone to a different realm altogether. Nowadays, the country's armies are getting involved. And if you really look at any famous attack which we have thought of, it's all can be related to a state actor which is attributed to some country. So defense is one area which has got very, very impacted and which is always under threat. The other challenge in defense is a lot of the time, we can't depend on any one country as a friendly country. If you really look at today, 90% of cybersecurity products are from Israel. So our dependence on foreign products is very, very high. And what can stop? We are so afraid of Chinese products saying that there is a backdoor. What if when there is a war and for some reason we are fighting something against Israel, there could be another backdoor which is activated by them. So there's a strong need for the Indian products where we can totally depend on our own technologies. And I think that is another area which has come up very significantly. And the last one, if you really look at in this war, what is Russia doing? They're destroying all the electrical infrastructure, the critical infrastructure of Ukraine. That's all we get to know. So it's not just the army part, it is also the electrical infrastructure, the utilities, the national critical infrastructure, which is under threat. So I believe these are the 3-4 larger areas which are all getting impacted. And India is not going to remain, isolated or unaffected. And we need to find ways of addressing each one of them. And yes, Atmanirbhar Bharat is going to be one of the ways of addressing some of these problems. So that was my 1% on it, sir.
Thank you, Sudeep. Now we'll come down to Shiv Bihariji from SciTech. Your views on how is cyber risk associated with the armed forces?
Yeah. So am I audible? Hopefully I'm audible now. Right.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Great. So thank you for inviting us. It is great privilege. As Sudeep sir said about most of the things about the cyberspace. So if we talk about exactly our neighborhood countries, as we mostly engage on China as well as the Pakistan, they are main threats for our defense sectors, as much I know. And apart from our cybersecurity product, this Chinese have most of our mobile application or the mobile which Indians use right now are from the Chinese, are the owned by the Chinese company. So the as much I see, apart from all these critical infrastructure, we need to also make sure like हमारे जो applications या फिर जो Android applications आ रहा है या फिर Android mobiles आ रहे हैं जो कि owned by Chinese company, we need to make sure कि these applications should be tested or the mobile should be tested before giving in the hand of Indian people, because it's a great source of spying. It's a great source of the tool in order to gain the information or inside the information of Chinese and Indians, and Chinese are actually doing it, as we have already tested multiple Chinese mobile like MI or the Oppo, Vivo or the OnePlus application. They already have come up with the bloatware which are already have the installed what is kind of a spying software which they connected with their CMC services, and they are actually gathering each and every information of all the Indians. Apart from this, like Sudeep sir mentioned about the APT threats, and APTs or you can say the state-sponsored group, which are mostly for us. These group are from Pakistan or the China. They are targeting our critical infrastructures. Like we said, like we seen in recent month, the AIMS target attack. It crippled our most important critical infrastructure in the medical segment. So yeah, it's a quite alarming right now, and we need to make sure we should be very prepared for all these things. Yeah, that's from my side.
You, Hardik, your point
Yes.
views on this?
So, namaskar, everybody. As you know, I completely agree with what Sudeep sir said and my fellow friend Shiv Bihariji said. And if we see how, when we started building our startup at that time, we have seen that most of the analogies, am I audible, right? Because, okay, yeah. Yeah. So whenever we started, understanding what is the cybersecurity, and the more we go into deep, and when we try to derive the analogies, and if anybody say I want to understand cybersecurity, at that time generally we say, if you want to understand cybersecurity, go with the defense. Most of the terminologies and tactics, and even if you say what is the most critical thing in defense is, I would say generally they say, we are going for operations, or, running operations is the biggest part of defense, whether it would be, attacking or defensive, both kind of. And the same thing, if you see whatever, if it would be firewall, if it would be, so generally I say, if somebody, my fellow startups, or, my juniors, or who are coming to us and will say, I want to understand what would be the cyberspace, and generally I say it's not a business of just risk or just cybersecurity or information security. It is a business of operation. So if you understand what kind of threats would be executed into defense, and you just correlate those things with in the cyberspace, most of the answers you will get, that how much task we have to execute, whether everything, the processes which we have defined in cyberspace. Recently we have seen that now banking segment has come up with few indigenous solutions. What would be the solutions is that particular terrain has been developed by us, but if some other countries, I don't want to name anybody, but some countries has found that how they could get penetrated into our ecosystem. And we have seen that there are some cases which has happened into that a few people have attempted suicide, and how they are able to get into our people's mind. And the reason is it's about changing the narrative, I would say. If you compare whether our media, web media, open media, and all things are not controlled, and I would say there is no such regulatory or advisory body. And I think we are on the way, we are on the right track. That one is IDEX kind of program is coming, MIT is coming up with certain challenges, which is good thing. But apart from that, I would like to address one more thing. So if we see there are some organizations like NATO, then we have military treaties in defense segment. Now similar kind of sanctions are also coming into the cyberspace tools and technologies as well. So recently, I would say last year in September, October, US has sanctioned that certain technologies, if any private company even wants to sell to other countries, they have to they have to get permission from their government. And we have to think about that time, as Sudeep sir mentioned, that what will happen if such kind of tools and technology, like defensive or attacking, any kind of, even attacking in terms of, even if I want to test my own technologies against a certain cyber threat, at that time I would be needing certain attacking services as well. So if such kind of technologies we have to start developing, I'm not saying just for attacking other people. Like we have similar that initially in 1980s to 1990s, we doesn't have any kind of ballistic facilities in India. At that time, we have to worry about that. If I'm going to develop a bulletproof jacket, who is going to test it? And if I am going abroad for testing that particular technology, those people are definitely going to get our designs, whatever we have designed internally. So it is like that only. If we are going to develop certain technology for defense, at that time we also would be needing certain attacking technologies. So that is how I am seeing this particular terrain.
Let me,
Thank you,
add
sir.
a very interesting perspective if we have finished. You see, there has been something in the news about, specifically Israel and USA, where they have demonstrated that given all the vehicles we have in the market and commercial vehicles, and there are so many hundreds of chips in them, they have proven by test that a person can hack into a vehicle and take it away from the control of the driver, and then can make it commit an accident or suicide mission. Now imagine a vehicle which has got a senior country leader, okay, or a senior industrialist, and if a terrorist can do it, and I don't know how many chips are there in the defense vehicle, okay. So there is a ruling at least in Japan, Europe, USA is right, that effective June 2024, every vehicle has been cyber security certified. And we have a startup was working in that area. And I'm just throwing it, I'm not a CS expert. I'm just looking out to this area that, you know, I'm sure there are chips in the defense vehicles also. I mean, there are chips in your missile, there are chips in everywhere. And if somebody can hack onto them, onto your network, it's a very big threat. Am I right? Is something we should work on?
Yeah. So, you advertised, a very interesting topic, which is near to my heart and mind both.
Okay. So this is an extra question. Each of you for 1 minute if you have something to say on that.
Definitely. So, generally, many a time, one of my cousin is, very much interested and he's fond of, guns. So at that time, I've compared those things, if somebody wants to, buy a gun, they have to go through certain processes. The similar way, if we see in cyberspace, it's very easy to, get attacking devices as of now. But, such kind of regulation has to come. So if we see last year PDP bill has been scrapped, but, now it is coming up with, certain new mandates. And if we see the Cloud Computing Alliance and all those people, where, as a country, as our ministries has to go and, say that, as a country, we have also certain needs that, you guys have to suffice. And I think since 2018, now we started, taking those steps. But, I think it would be great if, those kind of things could be fueled up. But it is a, it is not a one person's job, and there is some job role as a startup we have to do. There are some job role that, government has to fulfill, and there are some job roles which is to, it's a matter of ecosystem development. It's not just one day task. But I think we are on that track. And if we see, so banking is coming up with, banking is doing great. If we see, so they have, close tie with CERT. But similar way, a vehicle, whether it would be automated vehicle testing, our RTOs are get connected now. Now our police academies are also getting connected. Our military defense networks are getting connected. So that is where, those people have to collaborate with entity like SIIC, like, we have a big core where we will be having solutions, and we have to start engaging more and more. And then after, jointly we would come up with, certain regularities that what would be the need of people. Okay. So, yeah.
Anybody else on this topic? So, Bihariji?
So can you just rephrase the question so that, based on that'll be much better. I'll want to come out with it, but I want you to rephrase it, please.
See, like I said, was that there has been some testing done. It's been proven that anybody with certain skills can hack into a vehicle which got so many chips.
Right, sir.
And they can take control of the vehicle, and they've done it commercially. So imagine if Modi goes in a vehicle and they take it over. So the European, American, Japanese, whatever they passed a law that effective June 2024, you can't sell a vehicle without cyber security certification. So जब जो chips यहाँ है वो defense में भी है, missile में है, हवाई जहाज में है, उनके armored trucks में है. So is this a threat? And I mean, is somebody addressing it? What do you feel about it?
Sir, I think this has been addressed in a very significant way. क्या है कि like there are so many advantages of working in an interconnected world with an IT, but that all comes to a naught if somebody is able to gain access and control it altogether. So आप जो बात कर रहे हो ये तो उस लेवल पे बात कर रहे हो कि we are talking about cars, and think of it, if there is now there are going to be unmanned aircraft which will be all controlled through electronics. There would be a tank with sensors. There could be everything was going to be run electronically, and they will all come under threat. So I think the only way we can strengthen on it, and organizations are all working for it, is you need to do three very important things. Continuously keep testing whatever you have developed, because of flaws and vulnerabilities will keep coming up. Second one is monitor regularly, whatever, if their attacks are happening. So there's a concept of a security operations center. And you brought about the topic of the vehicles. Nowadays, there are European laws which mandate that each of the organizations like the Toyotas of the world and the BMWs of the world since a lot of their machinery is running on chips and ICs, there is a concept of a vehicular SOC which is coming up, which will continuously monitor what the threats are happening. And if there was some problem, maybe for not for a cyber threat, for a simple reason, suppose a vehicle fails in the middle of a jungle, then there should be a way of that these people are able to identify that and do the corrective action. So I believe that with all the advances, protection is happening and things are on the right track, but you never know because these miscreants sometimes are a step ahead of us. And this is a catch and mouse game where all the people on the defense side have to be very vigilant. Thank you.
Shri Bihari ji?
Yeah. हाँ सर, तो जैसे सर ने बताया ये वाला पार्ट, so basically like he also mentioned the unmanned vehicles, UAV part, which is also a kind of a threat similar to the kind of the electric or like the company like Tesla or the BMW. They are also using all these chips, which can be controlled or attacked by the attackers, and it has been proved. So there is one hackathon is organized every year in USA, like in the Black Hat, or there is company like the Gerodium, where basically all the hackers around the globe, they come together and they find out all the critical vulnerabilities on their product or in their system. So it's been like you asked. So this is actually a threat. There are actually a possibility in order to hijack their systems and control their vehicle, as well as the UAV part also. So the point I want to add here is in order to make sure that these things should be continuously monitored, or there should be a kind of authority need to be here by the government or by the joint effort of the government as well as the private sectors should be there, like a kind of framework. So before entering into the Indian market, they should be certified and something like that. The second important is our startup ecosystem. As this is the era of India, and we are booming in the startup sectors, right? And we have different kind of a solution which is coming up by the startups in the cybersecurity as well as in other field also. The third part is which we actually needed a trained and skilled the people in our India. We have a large scale of hackers in our India. If we say the numbers, if we take around from one agency like the HackerOne or the Bugcrowd, so we have all around 25% or 30%. Data might be changed, but the problem is the skill of these attack hackers are only in a specific area. So as a government, as a organization, as an institute like the IIT Kanpur or the IIM infrastructure, we need to leverage or kind of a make a course, a specialization on different other field, because cyberspace is quite a vast area, right? It's not only focus on the web application or the mobile application. There are hardware security, IoT, IIoT, in the OT sector, ICS sector. There are multiple sector areas. We have the skilled engineer, but we need to make a proper utilization of all these skill sets. So all combining of all these three assets, I mean, like the regulation as well as leveraging the startups as well as the skilled engineer, we can able to tackle all these kind of problems.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my next question is, in whatever knowledge you people have, and in this maybe others can intervene in between, do you think our defense sector has got appropriate awareness of the cyber risks, or it is lacking, or it is available only the top level, not percolated all the way down? How can the understanding and awareness of this be improved, or do you think it's at the optimum level? What should the government do? What tools, what tactics, so that the whole force from Havaldar to general is aware of the risk? Is it prevalent, and what tools should be employed to make it, ye bataye. So maybe we can start by आप ही शिव बिहारी जी स्क्रीन पे हैं, तो आप बताएं, फिर बाकी लोग बोलेंगे.
Okay, definitely, sir. So I actually worked very closely with the defense sector. So recent few years, I have seen the great changes happening in the defense sector. So we are capable and we are actually growing, and The problem is here ki, like initially he mentioned, the most of the tool we right now use are actually developed by some foreign countries or like especially from the Israelis or the US. As well as the second, the most important sector is like the open source tools. So this is also very kind of a helpful as well as the ticking bomb also, because we as a Indian try to use all the source code available in the internet and try to build upon on their system, but we didn't actually care about the open source system. So as a defense, we are actually moving toward the innovation, and we are actually trying to build up our own defensive solution as well as trying to create our own workforce. So this is as much I can say this is a positive way, as well as the like the event like the IDEX is also a proof like the Indian government as well as the defense sector, defense is actually taking all these things seriously, and they try to leverage our Indian startup in order to make sure we be able to find out the solution by our own instead of using any foreign tools or something like that. So these are the 2 points which show the positive graph. But apart from that, I also want to add, because we have a large number of force, and not all of what do you say, the people or the soldiers or the officials are actually well aware of IT sector or the cyber security. There is highly need in order to train our what do you say, apart from the IT sector people, we need to train them about all these attacks and the precautions. So training is also a very important factor. I think we need to look into that.
Okay, Sudhirji, what about you?
So the way I feel at, I think in the Indian defense sector, there are some very bright minds, and there are lots of good people. But what happens is most of these sophisticated equipments are going to be used by ground personnel. And in security, they say security is as strong as the weakest link. So if there is a foot soldier who's not aware of cyber security, who's not aware of the do's and don'ts, the precautions to be taken, then the best of cyber security is likely to fail. So there is a need for a multi-level and a multi-layered approach to increasing the awareness and knowledge and sensitivity of all the people involved, not just few people, but all involved, because that is how the whole chain of the defense is set up. And so there's a need for that. At the same time, there's also a need of the concept which I call is like COVID has made us very sensitive about our health. What about cyber health? I think people are not talking about that part. 99% of any IT equipment is vulnerable by default. So we need to make sure whatever we have, it is not creating those backdoors. It is not inviting attackers to figure out ways of taking control over us. So I think there's a need for all around development and all the people involved, not just some important people. That's one. And second is the awareness about the cyber health itself. If you bought a equipment and in 6 months' time, there are certain new vulnerabilities which have been identified, and there is some component which is vulnerable inside that bought solution, then we are going to be sitting ducks. So there is a need for awareness. There's a need for constant testing. If we do these 2 things, some of the pain is going to get reduced. That's my belief.
Okay, Hardik.
So it's greatly confusing, but I just wanted to add one thing from if we see in defense, we eventually have to come up with a coursework or where every NCC people has to get trained. I think we have to start training people from the perspective of kind of level they have, and we would be needing some level of I'm completely noise about that a few days or upcoming years we would be seeing that cyber security courses running for defense. We would be seeing whether it would be military engineering college or those. Awareness is definitely one part, but apart from that, they are aware about what are the risks. So they are trying to manage current risks from we have great MOUs with Russia for, buying our AK-47 guns and, AK series of guns. But it is about, how we are going to produce more BrahMos or more Agnis. The question is about that. So, we have our own territorial needs in terms of defense, and the same comes with cyberspace as well. So how we could, build, they are already aware about, what would be needing. And if we see how they have, aggregated the problem statement from the whole industries on different sectors, and that is beautiful, I would say. So they are aware about it, and they are taking perfectly right step. Apart from that, training, definitely IITs are trying, our university NFS is trying, and there are now SEBIs are, continuously providing trainees to their CISOs or CVOs, chief vigilance officers or chief information officer, that, what would be the new modus operandi which would be coming into the market and how they are going to get trained. So, similar kind of, approach could be taken into, different sector as well. And I think they have already started in certain division as of now. Now it is a matter of time that, how it could be, replicated and, how it could be exponentially managed very well. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. For my next question, हमने बड़े आराम से कह दिया भाई बहुत थ्रेट है. Okay, that's a very simple statement जो बेजा अनाड़ी भी कह देगा. Okay, सवाल है थ्रेट कितना है? Vis-a-vis, I mean, in the tank कितना है, in the gun कितना है, in the aircraft कितना है, in the missile कितना है? Do you think we have appropriate models for assessing the level of cyber threat, or we don't have? Do we need to develop models for that? And do we need then for this we followed subsequently by appropriate legislation, regulation, how to address it? Okay. So आप स्क्रीन पे आप ही चलते रहिए फिर बाकी आ जाएंगे.
Definitely, sir. So, I would say one fine day, even I have talked with, Aditya as well and Vikas ji as well, that how much, problem statement we would be having, the burning issues. So, while, we were pursuing our MTech and then Ronak started his PhD at that time, we started aggregating the problem statements, current problem statement, and along with that, how much, the future problem statement, which would be coming into upcoming 5 years. So that was like, more than 250 problem statements we have came up. And if we see IIT Kanpur's portfolio, we have 40 plus startup as of now, till cohort 2 or cohort 3. So I think there is a space in entrepreneurial space is there where people could come up with certain problem statement. If you consider in Gujarat we have started assessing certain problem statement, whether the bug bounties and the financial sector is also coming up with certain problem statement for cyber security. That apart from that, still there are certain segments which is completely untouched, So if we say the techno-legal part was very much there, but very cyber legal part, there are very few people who are talking about that particular part. Now the compliance management is biggest issue if we see, and if we consider our terrain, India, even our defense forces, they have their own scalability issues, and how those could be addressed, those problems could be solved. That is where we have to start thinking about as well. The technology is one part, but how particular technologies are going to get weaved with particular, if we say the downward integration or the upward integration, both has to be done. Whether so there are certain things which has to go through bureaucracy. There are certain things which we would be needing for our own justice system, and there are some issues we might have to go to Interpol, we might have to go to UN as well. So those kind of realm are completely unexplored as of now, because whenever as every technical founder would be coming up with technical solutions, but there are a lot which could be explored. The another problem is even our defense vehicle has there are certain insurance. But what about insurance of cyber security, or I would say the digital infrastructure itself? Forget about
Hardik, great, but anyway, I'll ask Subhibji, a little more specific on, do we have models to assess the level of cyber threat, cyber security vis-a-vis a missile, a gun, and aircraft? Do we have models? We need to develop models, and do we need regulations following this? Measurement of the threat.
Sir, regulation जो होता है ना, वो कई बार वो business space में ज्यादा काम करता है. अगर आप आर्मी और डिफेंस की बात करिए तो वो लोग अपने आप बहुत रूल्स और रेगुलेशंस लगा के रखते हैं. So the kind of data protection when the Indian Army is doing today is many times more than what the Data Protection Act which India is going to enact in some time from now. So you are right, these regulations are there and they can be good, but for what to say, for organizations like the defense and all, they have far more in-depth procedures in place. चैलेंज वहां नहीं है सर, चैलेंज कुछ और है. क्या होता है कि वी ऑल थिंक टेक्नोलॉजी इज गोइंग टू सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम, एंड साइबर सिक्योरिटी में, बिकॉज आई हैव सीन द वर्ल्ड, आई हैव सीन अक्रॉस द ग्लोब, टेक्नोलॉजी इज द इजीएस्ट प्रॉब्लम टू सॉल्व. What is more difficult to address is two aspects, the people aspects and the process aspects. कई बार हम उन चीजों को छोड़ देते हैं जिसकी वजह से प्रॉब्लम होती है. See, like अगर WannaCry अटैक कभी नहीं होता, अरे एक छोटा सा माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का पैच लगा लिया होता हम लोगों ने, बट उसके ऊपर 2 बार अटैक हुआ है क्योंकि ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ने कहा ये पैच तो अच्छा है, आप माइक्रोसॉफ्ट ने दे भी दिया है, बट हमें लगाने में प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, हमारे बंदों को करना नहीं है. सो वी हैड WannaCry which happened, and Petya, just because we didn't do a very simple thing. So process और people वाला जो एस्पेक्ट है ये ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट है, एंड इसको मैनेज करने का एक ही तरीका है, द ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस वेदर इट्स आर्मी और whomever शुड हैव अ सिक्योरिटी पॉलिसी. आज की डेट में हम सिक्योरिटी की बात कर रहे हैं, बट हम सिक्योरिटी पॉलिसी अगर हमारे पास है ही नहीं तो हम क्या करेंगे. सो आई थिंक दिस इज अ मोर फंडामेंटल टास्क विच इज एट हैंड्स ऑफ एवरीबडी, एंड पीपल आर ट्राइंग टू डेवलप. एंड लाइक to coming back to your point, I think for every advanced thing, whether you're calling a missile or a tank which has got lots of sensors, there are frameworks, there are methodologies, and there are very specialized tools to address at least the known risks which are there. So वो है, but कितना हम लोग practice में ला रहे हैं वो शायद हम लोगों को पता नहीं होगा, because that is something which the defense teams would know. But ये जो my point is at a lower level, like I said, security is as strong as the weakest link. So ये high level पे तो सब कुछ हो जाता है, CISO, CTO और general और major के level पे. But since these IT devices, sensors are going to be used by a lot of people on the ground, it is the ground level people who need to be made aware of, who need to be trained, or who even need to be assessed and audited. So I think that is something, there are efforts on way, things are happening. But this is one area which needs a lot of work. That's my point of view, sir.
Shiv Bihari ji?
Yeah, I'm totally agree with Sudeep ji and Hardik about it. The basic important part is, as we have a large infrastructure, as well as we are growing in the digital field, but still as a big country, as a big market, we still don't have any kind of a policy or the compliance. Not only in the defense sector area, basic digital में भी हमारे पास ऐसा कोई compliance है नहीं, और अगर compliance हमने कुछ draft दिया भी है तो properly implemented नहीं है. तो basically training तो बहुत important part है, जो कि मैंने बहुत कई बार इस point में बोला है, but we need to also empower our kind of organization, like for example the CERT-In, which is actually responsible for these kind of attack or the policy implementation or the regulation controlling or the implementation kind of these things. This is very important, as well as like I said, India is booming in sector of a startup, and we have the talent, we have the capability to build up an ingenious tool in order to tackle all these kind of problem cyber attacks. But again the problem is the process and the implementation. This is the major issue or the major gap. We need to fill it out. So like.
Fine, thank you. Okay, we are running out of time in case there are questions, so I'll condense my next whatever query to one. Okay, and that is given whatever we discussed, in the defense forces earlier we had DRDO and only the defense. Now there's a whole lot of private corporate sector, right? So, earlier it was DRDO, not L&T, Tata Defense, and Mahindra, whatever. And we are not talking about bringing in startups into this whole system, right? So, does this present a challenge? How to go about it? How to integrate this into a proper mesh? You know, पहले तो defense की जो you know, because I know that since one of my uncles was the head of the park during Abdul Kalam's time, तो मैंने देखा वहां तो कोई घुस नहीं सकता, पंछी भी नहीं घुस सकता, but अब तो हमने सारा प्राइवेटाइज कर दिया. Does it throw a challenge, and what roles can startup play? Now you have the defense, you have the corporate sector, and the startups. So let's have a views on this, and then we'll throw it to question answers and close the whole thing. Okay, Shiva, you're on the line, तो आप ही करते रहिए.
Okay. So, like you said, before पहले से तो I think they are more kind of flexible, especially the defense sector as well as the PSU or these kind of organization. They are actually trying to work with startup or the private sector in order to help them achieve all these kind of the defensive technology or the services part. But still there are some lagging point. अभी भी हम पूरा अचीव नहीं कर पाए हैं, but probably as much I think कि within next 4 to 5 years we might be able to achieve it. Like I said कि अभी हमने जैसे देखा कि in not only in the cyberspace, if we say the in the space, the space sector, right now ISRO is actually opening up, and they are collaborating with the private companies. As I remember, the Skyroot, one of the Indian first private, they collaborate with the ISRO and launch their rocket first time in the India. Similar like the US have done way before, I think, with the what do you say, private companies. So we still have the hope and hoping for the best. Probably the collaboration should be going to be much easier as compared to right now.
Okay. Hardik?
Yes, sir. And this is the similar question I generally encountered. Generally, I got encountered by when I would be sitting with some bureaucrats. At the time, generally, I says if you consider if we say the US cyber ecosystem, which is innovation is happening in Israel, and generally they will list down their company into US. So why the particular ecosystem became mature? So generally, I say because there are more players, private players are running into Pentagons. They are dealings with the Pentagons. So I think in cyberspace, it is the case that we have to take it. And if you see the nature of the classical defense system versus cyber defense system, most of the underlying suppliers of IT infrastructure now consultancy services is biggest in India. So I think that the synergy of private player which is already playing into India. So if you consider other software which has been bought by Indian defense, similar way, I would say it is going to get managed, and I think which is good thing. And if we could have chosen up that cybersecurity would like to keep into the closed door, then I think innovation wouldn't be thriving as we are seeing now, or it might take another 30-40 years, which we have seen in ISRO has done great thing. And similar way, and now since last 4 years, as Hariji said, if private player or we would be having high number of STEM graduates, which eventually one is PSUs is one part, but if we have greater competition into the private player, which eventually could cater into the global world as well. So that door now it is going to kept open, and that is what I think which is good thing. Yes, so that's it.
Vipji?
So I think I have got a different take on all this. जो आपने बड़े नाम बताए ना सर, महिंद्रा एंड L&T एंड ऑल, ये सब बड़े बड़े प्रोजेक्ट करते हैं और बड़ी बड़ी बाहर के ही प्रोडक्ट्स यूज करते हैं. एंड व्हाट माय एक्सपीरियंस इज, एंड दिस इज शेयर्ड बाय मेनी, इज इनोवेशन केवल स्टार्टअप्स में होता है. और ये बड़े जो लोग हैं, दे आर वेटिंग फॉर अ वन स्टार्टअप टू सक्सीड, जिसको वो बाद में खरीद लेंगे. सो द ट्रेंड दैट न्यू स्टार्टअप्स आर बीइंग आस्क्ड, are being brought in, is a wonderful thing. I'll just give you my personal experience. I had set up IBM security delivery team in India. मैंने 10 साल लगाए वहां पे, एंड पिछले 10 साल में IBM ने एक सिक्योरिटी प्रोडक्ट नहीं लॉन्च किया है. जो भी प्रोडक्ट है उन्होंने कोई स्टार्टअप को खरीदा है और लॉन्च किया है. So these big names, whether it's IBM or whether it's Tech Mahindra or Wipro, I know how they work internally. They do no innovation. But what they are doing the right thing, they're looking at some good technology. If developed by a startup, they'll come and buy it up. So more and more innovation के लिए more and more startups की जरूरत है. And I think it's a welcome step. And I think the numbers of the startup getting and becoming bigger or even being bought over tomorrow by some big name, I think that is all going to be positive for the Indian startup ecosystem.
Great, great, great. I've got many more questions, but we are running out of time. Let me see if there are any questions from the participants. Somebody is saying hello and somebody is saying, what is yahan ho kya raha hai? Well, forget that. There is one question by Naman which says, how to stop data leakage to Chinese malicious actors due to the Chinese, whatever domination in apps and phones. It's not your defense, but then it is somewhere, so maybe we can answer that and then we'll try to wrap it up.
Okay, so I have work on this particular thing, the Chinese loan application, which is right now, apart from all these cyber security aspect, right now we are also facing kind of a cyber crime internally in India. So it is what you say right now, हमारी जो condition है बहुत खराब है. We don't have any kind of framework, especially in the Asia, not only in the India. एशिया में भी हमारे पास ऐसा कोई साइबर क्राइम के लिए कोई भी ऐसा फ्रेमवर्क नहीं है. So we actually, as a from CITRI lab, IIT Kanpur is collaborating with multiple what do you say, the state police. Right now we have collaborating with the Telangana police, and we are actually trying to build up a kind of a framework where we have designed a kind of a modus operandi, a kind of what are the kind of cyber crime right now happening as data set कि last year से भी अभी में 11% से ज्यादा growth हुई है. Right now we have registered 11 लाख से ज्यादा हमारे पास cyber crime attacks हो रहे हैं इस तरह के. Recently अभी कल ही एक one of my family member get spoofed on this और लाखों रुपए उसमें चले जा रहे हैं. And this is because एक तो पहला एजुकेशन है, दूसरा प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है जो कि हमारे पास कोई फ्रेमवर्क नहीं है. We find it out like कि हमारे पास बहुत सारे अभी right now we have 23 kind of a cyber crime agencies है ना, or you can say cyber crime cells which are actually looking into it, but they are doing only one thing. They are only gathering the data. They are not doing anything, as much I know. So the problem is we don't have the proper ammo, or in order to solve all these ammo part, हमारे पास ऐसा कोई proper channel नहीं है because of lot of what is it, the communication gap between the agencies. Let's take example, most of the 90% cyber crime is actually happening because of the phishing. And ये जो let's come to the question part which he mentioned about the Chinese malicious actor. Right now if you see, ये सबसे बड़ा what you say साइबर क्राइम का जो मेन अभी मुद्दा बना हुआ है, दैट इज द लोन एप्लीकेशन. राइट नाउ देयर आर मल्टीपल कंपनीज जो कि एक ही ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से रजिस्टर्ड है. वो कम से कम 100 एप्लीकेशन आप प्ले स्टोर में देखोगे, यू विल फाइंड हंड्रेड्स ऑफ एप्लीकेशन वेयर दे गिव इजीली लोन, इजी लोन without any kind of verification or kind of thing. Suppose if I got access to your PAN card or the Aadhaar card, I don't need to do any kind of verification whether it's me or no, or that particular person. And as we see in couple of years, the data leak is happening. And as per the report, India is the biggest, what do you say, the part of data leak, the 20% of that leak actually coming from the India. And वो basically यही data leak है, हमारे personal data, especially the Aadhaar as well as the PAN card address and the bank details. So इससे बचने का simple सा एक तरीका है, if you are basically aware about the cyber crime or the cyber attack or something like that, don't get fished or don't get greedy on getting these kind of loan, because they go वो बहुत लास्ट तक जा सकते हैं इसमें. And there are multiple cases happening in the India, especially in the Telangana. We have seen 11 से ज्यादा इस तरह के सुसाइड हो चुके हैं because of the harassment by these agencies or the local group which are basically linked up to the Chinese, and these people are or to the Singapore base. the Singapore वाला भी Chinese ही होता है उसमें, and they come up in the India and they open up a firm with especially हमने अभी जो cases देखे हैं इंडिया के जो सीए हैं उनके साथ कोलैबोरेट करके वो कंपनीज को एक सेल कंपनी बनाते हैं, and that's how this came come up. So not only the loan application is there are other application like gaming or video chat or these kind of the cyber crime is actually happening. In order to save yourself from all these kind of attack is the simple, make sure कि don't get greedy on this, है ना, और पैसा मत लो या फिर इस तरह की एक्टिविटीज में मत रखो, या third party is something like don't install these kind of application which is you don't trust it actually.
हार्दिक जी आपका व्यूज इसके ऊपर?
I have completely different approach in this particular one. So, sir, actually, it's government of India who is, allowing these people to, operate in India, like any kind of application store, whether it be Google Play Store, whether it be iPhone App Store. They are the root cause, I would say, because if somebody is creating a cell company in Singapore or in China, they need an application, hosting permission in India, and I've contributed in this particular project from research angle that what would be the the framework we would be needing. And so this is the part where innovation is going to come into the picture, that there are certain kind of filtration mechanism we would be needing at Play Store level, which even today Google don't have, I would say. And the reason is we would be needing data that who is publishing an application with UPI integration. If they could start providing those data, then the law enforcement, the task and the next execution work of law enforcement agency would be get reduced. But unfortunately, leverage, because such kind of drafting has organized, which can be given to US government, and then could be floated. And I think awareness. We since 2000, even my university started in 2008, and if you see since 1990 when cybersecurity particular part has been started, everybody is talking about awareness. But I think generally I say cybersecurity is not just an awareness issue; it's also an engineering issue as well. So we allow them, we have given a way to publish such kind of application, but we doesn't have any other way around to ban them as well. And that is where, or we doesn't have instrumented such kind of mechanism to track those kind of people, and that is where this kind of problem lies. And I would say the defense mechanism are not there. So yeah.
राइट सर मेरा व्यू कुछ डिफरेंट है. हमें लगता है कि हम लोगों ने चाइना को और चाइनीज को कुछ ज्यादा ही बदनाम करा रखा है.
अच्छा.
What will stop? I mean, suppose सुदीप सक्सेना और हार्दिक और शिव अगर वो फ्रॉड कर रहे हैं तो वो भी तो डेटा निकाल सकते हैं, चुरा सकते हैं. हम केवल चाइनीज को क्यों बदनाम कर रहे हैं? आप सही कह रहे हो कि चाइनीज आजकल वो हाईलाइट हो गए हैं, which is right. But if you really, I think a protection is required against all these kind of frauds, and we should not just single out the Chinese. Chinese may be one of the bigger contributors. But जो डेटा लीकेज को अगर आप बात करो, एंड आई स्पेंड ऑलमोस्ट 30 years in the corporate world, so ये प्रॉब्लम के दो पार्ट हैं. एक वो पार्ट है डेटा लीकेज इन द कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड, एंड द सेकंड इज डेटा लीकेज इन द पर्सनल डोमेन, जिसके बारे में बात ज्यादा हो रही कि लोन एप्लीकेशन कर दिया, ये कर दिया. बट जब आप एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को देखते हो, सो दे आर वेरी मैच्योर्ड डेटा लीकेज टेक्नोलॉजीज विच आर अवेलेबल, और विच जो कि आजकल ज्यादातर कॉर्पोरेशंस या कंपनीज लगा रही हैं. So there is a lot of maturity which has happened, and this is data leakage is a problem for the last 15 years. So it's been solved in a way, but since it comes at a cost, a lot of the time people don't use those technologies. So DLP as a word is very famous in the industry, but we have to now look at two levels, but at an individual level, because people are getting duped and all. So that is a different thing altogether, where it's a combination of lack of awareness and enhanced greed, because हमें एक दिन में अमीर बनना है. So that is more thing at an individual level, but I think at a corporate level, there are tools and practices which are there. And this is something which is now needs to become a part of the organization's security policy. And if people are putting the right attention to it, this is a more addressable problem. That's what I would say.
Thank you. I don't, let me see if there's anything else that has come up in the questions. बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन आगे, we run out of time. There are maybe we won't take any more questions after this, but how to overcome the security concerns raised after privatization in defense manufacturing? What are security features attached in our identity card, PAN cards, Ayushman cards? Is our data secure? I am a founder of startup at IIT BHU, and most of the data leakage happens due to hard copy submission of IDs like Aadhaar, etc. And in hotel check-ins for KYC verification. And he would like to say a few words, he says. Okay, Naman, you want to say a few words? Then we'll close down because we don't have too much time left. We'll have concluding remarks. Naman, आपने कुछ कहना है? Naman, you sent a message that you are a startup.
He will have to be given the right to speak, sir. I
Okay.
think he will write something in between. I think we should focus on the another question that has been asked.
Okay, जो बाकी जो question है, last question, and then we'll close it down. Which is, basically there are two questions. I'll club them together. What are security features in our iCards, PAN cards, Ayushman cards, etc.? Are they secure? And the other question we already addressed, how to come security concerns after privatization. तो मैंने पूछ ही लिया था. तो ये वाला question का जवाब दे दीजिए. What are the features in our iCard, PAN card, Ayushman card? Are they secure? And we'll close it. Okay. कौन पहले बोलेगा?
I think Shiv can start. Shiv is a hardcore hacker, so he understands these things much better.
So basically अगर हम I'm going with हिंदी है ना. Basically अगर हम चिप की बात करें या फिर ट्रैकिंग की कर सकते हैं. Overall अगर जो हमारे एप्लीकेशन है, whether it's PAN card or the Aadhaar card, the main system is secure enough. It's not a big issue. The point I try to make here is the agencies who or the application which is using these kind of these IDs from the users, like कोई भी application है, आप हम हर जगह आधार दे देते हैं, PAN card दे देते हैं. There should be a kind of a liability on these organization to make sure they have the responsibility to secure the whatever data they are collecting from the users, and this can be implemented like we said before. We need a proper strict kind of a compliance or a proper audit for these kind of organization, like we have seen in the US or in the European countries. They take cybersecurity very seriously. In our countries, if you see that there are millions of data leaks, and they don't even care, and cyber agencies are not actually taking any kind of action against them. This is the main issue or the major concern we should be more focusing on. Instead of we can have the alternative solution for all these things in order to track whether our solution is actually whether a particular user identity is actually getting leaked or somewhere. But instead of focusing on this, the major solution should be a kind of a strict policy implemented or adhered by a kind of agency like the CERT, which is more responsible for cyber security implementation or the response team. They should make a kind of a strict compliance in order to make sure that these companies should do continuous audit, and they take the liabilities or the responsibility if they are taking any kind of personal data from the users. So this is what I'm trying to make my point here is, instead of solution, I don't know.
Let me add to this question. ये जो अभी जो system इन्होंने शुरू किया 1-2 साल पहले, where you go on that particular government site and you can redact your Aadhaar card, right? Redact करके then you give it. Don't give the actual card. Give a redacted version. Is that safe and secure? Is that solving the problem? We redact all documents. Is that a solution?
Yeah, this might be a good solution, but like I said before, ये वाले जो solutions हैं, this is actually working out. The problem is the third party agency who is collecting all this data. Actual जो data leak हो रहा है from these application or the, if we see there are multiple government websites जो कि हमारा data ले रही है, but the main the main authority like the आधार का जो अपना है या पैन कार्ड की जो authorities हैं, उन्होंने ये implementation तो कर दिया. The main point is the third party application which are actually storing the user data. They should make sure कि उनका proper system audit हो. They should take the responsibility, like if you are gathering or storing the sensitive or the personal data of any user, they should take the responsibility. They should make sure कि उनका application buggy ना हो, continuously audit हो, या kind of that. Yeah, this is the main major concern. Otherwise, I don't think this is going to be solved, because if we see in the US के कोई भी companies होते हैं, उस पे strict regulation लगाए जाते हैं. And even if we see that the multiple time Google और Facebook जो बड़ी giant companies है, even उनको भी under regulation पे लाया जाता है. If any kind of data leak happen, अपने इंडिया में ऐसा नहीं है. As much I have experience, many companies don't care about their data, our data. I have seen that I have reported multiple companies जिसके millions data हो रहे हैं, जो कि banking sectors का भी है, क्योंकि banking भी third party companies के साथ collaborate करती है in order to gather or acquire the data, right? And these data will be used by banking system, but वो जो third party company है, वहाँ data leak हो रहा है. And this is how, this is the major concern.
Hardik, आपके views, and then we'll have Sudeep ji concluding it.
Okay, so I think in near future, people are going to treat their identity and digital data as a property. That is what I would say. And but that would be a time when it would be happening. But before that, definitely completely agreed with Shiv Bihari ji that what ये जो जितना भी data हम कहीं पे देते हैं, we are investing some data and we are because they are also investing into their application development. But that level of maturity still it is not there. As a founder, if I would be managing a UPI based startup or some finance management startup, I'm not going to invest into security because there are no such regularities are there. But why it isn't there is, as I've earlier said, we need those rules and regulations coming from academics. I think more. They have the experience, but they even don't know where to go, how to go, and what to do. So such kind of inputs we have to, as academics, we have to start giving it to them, and then after a period of time, if particular mechanism is working or not, then it could be replicated and enforced thorough. And till that moment, it would be a tic-tac situation, or we have to experience it for a while, and then it will become a standard practice. Then we could say that yeah. Now, even if from one segment to another segment, whether it would be PAN, we have to try it with PAN, we have to try it with Aadhaar, at least for once, we have to try it out, and then after, it could be secured as required. And second part is, I think, as a cybersecurity fraternity, either we could come up with that particular framework, or we could, come up with a startup as well, where, if Dr. Deepak, you could, nurture such kind of startup personally, or I would be nurturing, or I would be connecting with those people. Then those people are also in need of. Today I am just collaborating with more than 20 startups who are getting issues of cybersecurity. They are saying that I'm developing IT application, I'm developing banking or finance related application. I would be doing cybersecurity, but I don't have any view what would be done, because now they are also getting worried about what if today I'm going to spend X amount of money along with my life. They would be spending 1-2 years of their life, and they would be building something. So their stake, their reputation is also at stake. So they started thinking about it, but I think everybody is looking toward the solutions, but the actuality isn't there, and we have to come up with such kind of solutions. Yeah, so that's it.
Anji, your concluding remarks.
Right, sir. हाँ, so I believe ये जो भी credit card, ये cards या जो भी chips हैं, they have adequate amount of security. And they are fairly well tested before they are put to use. And ताले जो होते हैं ना, वो चोरों के लिए नहीं होते हैं. उनका यही मतलब होता है कि कितना difficult हो जाए किसी चोर के लिए वो ताला खोल पाए. So there is nothing like an absolute security, but I believe these are generally more secure. That would be my answer. बट आई थिंक मेरे एक और व्यू ये है कि हम लोग अभी ना वो डेटा और रेगुलेशंस की बात कर रहे हैं जो ज्यादा ग्लैमरस तो है, बट साइबर सिक्योरिटी में हम अभी उन एस्पेक्ट्स पे काम चल रहा है जिसके बारे में बात आगे कभी करनी चाहिए कि भाई पूरा का पूरा एक पावर प्लांट, पूरा इलेक्ट्रिकल ग्रिड बंद हो सकता है, एक एयरक्राफ्ट को साइबर सिक्योरिटी यूज करके एक हैकर नीचे गिरा सकता है. सो आई थिंक दोज आर द न्यूअर एंड डीपर एप्लीकेशंस ऑफ साइबर सिक्योरिटी जिसमें हम लोगों को आगे लगना है. And there's a good awareness on the data side, the privacy side and all, which is good. But I think this is a very good initiative and we are all for it. And hopefully हम लोग के बीच में collaboration से और इस interaction से awareness भी बढ़ेगी और नई technologies को भी बढ़ावा मिलेगा. That's all I'll say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we've come to an end. It's been a very useful, very good discussion. So from my side, thanks to all the people who came in and to all the panelists. Animesh, Vikas, do you want to say something before we conclude?
No, sir. I think thank you everyone for coming into the session and making it fruitful to all the audiences who have attended the session. Thank you. And thank you, Deepak sir, for moderating it quite very well.
Okay, so Animeshji, and you want to say something? No? Okay, then let's log out. Bye-bye. And it's been a nice
Thank you.
session. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Sir.
Great. Thank you.